is our Convocation on Julius Caesar and the Gaulic Wars.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I am the great Julius Caesar, and this is a story about me and the greatness of Rome, but mostly me.
Hey, us too.
Yeah.
Why, if it isn't my old enemy, the Gauls, you have been a thorn in the side of the Roman Empire since the beginning. During the Punic Wars with Carthage, Hannibal tried to attack us by crossing the Alps. You assisted them. They would have frozen to death without your help. And later, when Spartacus led the slave rebellion, you fought with them and gave them aid.
You're only telling half the story. You tried to conquer us and impose Roman rule on us first. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Vercingetorix, feared war leader of the Gauls. Though Caesar only waged war on the Gauls from 52 to 58 AD, we had been fighting for long before that. Around 110, the fighting started, when Rome took a city of ours named Massalia. Later, we came back, allied with the Teutones and the Kimbi tribes. We destroyed four large Roman armies and could have actually sacked Rome. However, they had fought well, so we let them be. The second time, however, they were not so lucky. We believed in the power of fear and scared our enemies with our large war horns called carnixes. They looked like gigantic boars and screamed out our war call. The Romans were so scared by this that they hid in Rome. So of course, we killed them and burned Rome. We didn't leave until they paid us in a giant amount of gold. Another time, we needed the Po Valley. It was rich with farm ground and, yeah. However, we were beat by the gigantic Roman numbers and the general Gaius Marius.
I've heard enough of this ancient history lesson. Let's talk about me, Julius Caesar, and how I led Roman troops and expanded Roman territory. I helped bring civilized rule to your people. You're barbarians and chaos.
Oh yeah? Civilized? Like when you torched our cities, ransacked our fields, and demanded pay for what was rightfully ours?
Rightfully yours? I can see the documents.
We didn't need any documents.
Speaking of documents, you don't get a voice in this discussion, because you didn't write anything down. I did. History is written by the victors.
We didn't need to.
Hush, we can't hear you.
Rotten Roman?
You yellow-bellied, lily-livered, weak-minded barbarian.
Yellow? Wait, it's time I teach you a lesson.
Whoa, stop. The calendar indicates if we fight today, the sky will fall on our heads. Besides, if anyone is weak-minded, it's you Romans. As any good druid knows, when you write things down, your mind becomes weak. I am the druid Getafix. In the ancient days, we druids commanded the same respect as warriors. We were exempt from taxes and did not need to fight in wars. We were the next most respected people, only to the chieftain. Also, the Romans feared us and were in awe of our powers, and rightly so. Here are a few things to know about druids. Number 1, we only worshipped in oak groves and would not carry on our ceremonies until an oak branch was present. That bit about druids worshipping in stone circles is rubbish. 2, we were great healers, and we used mistletoe to heal poisons. The word mistletoe actually means all healing. Number 3, to become a druid is very difficult. We have to memorize 20 years worth of complex rituals and rules. And in order to protect our secrets and keep our minds sharp, we did not write things down. Also, we Gauls believed in an afterlife or other worlds, and we also believed in reincarnation. When a person died, their body was burned to ashes, then buried, or put on a boat and set ablaze. Regardless of the burial method, people were buried with what they felt essential for the afterlife, like weapons, tools, chariots, or slaves. Ah, yes. We also believed in fate and luck. We druids were able to determine the auspicious or lucky days. Like you just saw, when two armies are preparing to fight on an unlucky day, we druids would step between it to prevent disaster. And last, the druid's most sacred task, divination. This task is performed by, this would be better explained by a ritual itself. Bring in the Roman captive. Yes, so we begin this ritual by... How you see as he fell, his limbs twitched and he tried to catch himself. And you see the ominous pool of blood he made on the floor. This means we will have a plentiful harvest, but also 2 more months of winter. Divination is thirsty work.
Druids are so gross. Yeah, anyway, my name is Fruehwirth, by the way, and welcome to my home. As you can see, Gallic women are very beautiful and elegant. We tended to wear white patterned tunics with an apron. We also enjoy dyeing our skin using wad to make it blue or paste to make it white.
Is that a Gaulish without her menfolk? Let's go take her stuff.
One moment, please. Romans, sorry about that interruption. Apparently they were on our way. Can you imagine? Occasionally they try to attack our villages when our men are away. So we have to learn to protect ourselves. Don't let our beauty fool you. We are strong warriors. Now, as I was saying, personal hygiene is very important. We have laws about bathing and we introduce soap to those filthy Romans. And everyone, warriors included, are required to wash their hands before meals. Now, moving on to hair. Our hair is usually blonde, and just like modern women, we like to dye our hair. We like red. We also enjoy making fancy braids in our hair. And now I would like to demonstrate one of our greatest beauty treatments. Have you ever tried a fresh brewed beer facial? It's divine.
Yes, women were very important in Celtic society. And apart from sewing and cooking, they had to protect their villages while the menfolk were away. Women could also become warriors if they desired to. There were many Celtic legends about female warriors who led armies, like Skaha and Ivy. Women were very respected in Celtic society. Now to the children. Boys were trained with weapons at a very young age, and girls could be trained if they wished. We did not study reading or writing as children because the Celts believed it made you go soft in the head. Children would be sent to a different family to learn. Boys would learn how to ride horses, herd cattle, play sports and use weapons, while girls would learn how to cook, sew, and take care of animals. We Celts were part of a feudal system, and we kept slaves. The Druids and the chieftains were the most respected, and then came the warriors, and then the farmers and metal workers, and last the slaves. And we Druids have greatly influenced your world today. Your celebration of Halloween is really based on Samhain, an auspicious day when fairies walked the earth.
Although the modern calendar is based on one which the Romans created, us Gauls had a much more accurate calendar much earlier. Around 50 BC, Druids created a calendar to tell which days were lucky or unlucky. The day began at sundown and ended at sundown. A week was 8 days long because the Druidic word for week meant the 8th day. The calendar is based on the moon's rotation around the earth following the lunar year. Each month was 29 days long, and the new year was on Samhain, or November 1st. We had 13 months in the year. By adding the shorter 13th month, it became very accurate.
However, the Gauls invented much more than just the calendar. They single-handedly revolutionized farming. They invented crop rotation, which is a way to keep soil rich and fertile instead of leaving the ground barren, a new plow, that could till harder soil and allow for more grounding on farm ground, the rotary reaper, the rotary mill, and the screw wheel. However, we invented more than just farming equipment. We furthered the knowledge of anatomy, physics, and natural science. And though many consider us dirty barbarians, we recognize the importance of hygiene. We actually invented lye soap, and we took baths often. We also, as with the calendar, believed that keeping time was very important, so we invented the spring-driven clock, the weight-driven clock, and the hourglass. Other inventions we created include charcoal for cooking, the butter churn, scissors, the quill pen, and thatched roofing. Thatched roofing was important because it was cheap and easy.
Now, where did the Celts live? How did we make our houses? I will tell you. The walls of our Celtic roundhouses were made of wattle and dog. Our wattle walls were made by weaving a fence of weaving pliable hazel sticks into a circular pattern, and then we poured on the dog. Our dog was a mixture of clay, straw, and animal dung. The straw and animal dung helped keep the clay from cracking and falling away. Our dog walls were very good at keeping the heat in and the wind out for the cold winter nights. Also, one of our best Celtic inventions was the hill fort. It was basically a hill on a fort with many different layers of walls, with a village located at the top. This village was nearly impenetrable to siege. We have a hill fort right there if you would like to look.
Just like any culture, we like jewelry. We share many different Celtic styles with the other tribes around us. Look at my brooch. It's made out of gold. I could have gotten a silver one, but I like this better. We wear torques around our necks, rings, and bracelets. Celtic art usually had gold interlacing symbols, and most of the art can be found on weapons or jewelry. Celtic shields, swords, or chariots usually have lucky symbols to protect the warrior. Most of the time, these symbols were in a wheel-like pattern in honor of the god of thunder, Tyrannus.
And speaking of weapons, we actually created many weapons that were a lot better than anything the Romans could come up with. For instance, our longbow had a better range, faster firing, and a more accurate, it was more accurate. We also created many new kinds of armor, both of which were later copied by the Romans. We created chainmail and a helmet that protected the neck, cheek, nose, and mouth, as well as the rest of the head. Furthermore, our short swords and spears were a lot better than anything the Romans could come up with. They were flexible enough that they would not shatter when they hit a shield, and strong enough that they could that they could pierce Roman armor. And because we relied heavily on horses, we improved the way that horses were handled. We created metal bits, horseshoes, and metal chariot axles. Because we were the first to do these things, many of our words are now in your language, like trousers.
Now to where the Celts lived. The smaller part of Gaul, Cisalpine Gaul, is located to the right of the Alps. It was a Celtic part of Italy from the 4th to 3rd century BC, until it was conquered by the Roman Republic in 220 BC. It became a Roman province from 81 BC to 42 BC. Now the larger part of Gaul, Transalpine Gaul, located to the left of the Alps, was bounded by the Alps, the Mediterranean, and the Rhine River. It is now modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Germany. All of Transalpine Gaul was conquered by Julius Caesar during his conquest and Gallic Wars.
Speaking of the Gallic Wars, most people don't realize just how complicated the politics was leading up to them. Originally, the Gauls wanted an alliance with Rome. However, they asked Cicero, who was at the time a political enemy of Caesar. You don't ask a political enemy of Caesar something that you want to come true. So naturally, Caesar looked for any opportunity to start a war. He got his chance when the Helvetii attacked a small province, and he chased them off and took them down and completely destroyed them in Gallic territory. This grew anti-Roman sentiment. During this time, the Gauls were split into 3 parts: Celtica, Belgae, and Belgica. He controlled Belgae from the beginning, and after what he did to the Helvetii, I realized what he would I realized what he was willing to do for power, and I revolted. The first real battle we fought was in Alverni. I beat him. This was one of the 3 times that Caesar was ever defeated. Later, in Aglacia, he trapped us in a hill fort, and because of his greater numbers, I realized that this was never going to turn out well for us. So to prevent massive bloodshed, I surrendered.
That's not what happened. In that battle, we were severely outnumbered. We had trapped the Celts in a hill fort, and we were slowly sieging the land when, boom, Celtic reinforcements came in and encircled us. But sadly for them, I'm just brilliant. I built a wall facing outward as well as inward. And although that we were being attacked by 2 fronts, I managed to take control of my army and commanded us to victory.
Stop spreading lies. I told you that's not what happened.
Oh yeah? But remember, you don't get a say in this because you didn't write anything down.
Why don't you talk to my axe? So, why should you care what happened so long ago? What does it matter that 2 people fought? Well, the Gauls influenced us in 3 main ways. Culturally, scientifically, and with their respect of women. Culturally, our art is still heavily influenced by the Gallic art of the time, and the Celtic culture is becoming more and more popular. Scientifically, we still use the rotary reaper and the rotary mill, and many clocks that they created. And without their respect of women, we might still consider them second class.
Also, if the Celts had destroyed the Romans, it would have been bad news for the future gospel. For, even if the Romans did do terrible deeds to their enemies, they created a safe travel for all around the Mediterranean Ocean with their Roman roads, or Mediterranean Sea rather. Also, they united everyone into one common language, which paved the way for the future gospel. This concludes our convocation. We would like to thank you guys for watching. We would like to thank our parents and grandparents for helping us, and PACES for the opportunity, and God for everything. Questions? The sources are on the board below. Questions?
Lydia?
These pictures? Which one's this one? Well, basically, these represented different gods, and in the center, this snake-like thing, that represents eternity. I believe this is Turnus, the god of the storm, and this is Luke, the god of the moon. I couldn't figure out what those 2 were, but yeah. Our visual aids are our skull, all of our kind of painting things, and our hill fort, and the slides. This boar? Well, the Celts were kind of heavily influenced by boars. That was kind of their main creature. As you can tell by their war horns, the carnaxes, they used the boars to frighten their enemies. So, yeah.
This was also one of their gods, the boar. And I put all these symbols, I did this one. Most of the time, these curvy things meant eternity, as they seemed to never stop. And all these represented different gods. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Is that all the time we have?
Okay.
All right, go ahead. All right, thank you so much. All right, now guys, that's the convocation. That's maybe some of you are seeing one for the first time. We have an amazing video that we couldn't quite get downloaded on before this, but we want to show that to you because it'll lay it out a little bit clearer for you, okay? But this is kind of the visual for what we're going for. And this is a great set. Once again, let's give it up for these guys. Great job. I love the beard. And anytime you can put a beard on for a convocation, it's a good day, all right? So just wear those beards away. Lots of beards this quarter, right? All right, guys, now the next thing is the convocation sign-up sheet, okay? Every family needs to be involved in a convocation presentation, right? That's just kind of part of it. You're graded on it. It's part of just your process of the year of maturing as a presenter, right? The list is open here. Mom and Dad, look back through. There's dates. You can go in with other families. We'll talk to you more about the table, about any questions you have about Convo or C or CH and English teacher as well. All right, guys, let's run through a couple slides. We're a little into our lunch, so I want to try to get through these.